Hello children, as we are dealing with the chapter light, that is chapter 16. Okay, chapter 16 we are dealing with chapter light. This comes under physics part. Okay, this is physics chapter. Light is a physics chapter. This is easy, where in this chapter what we are gonna study, we are gonna make things with what makes things visible. Laws of reflection we are gonna study. Then we are gonna deal with angle of incidence, angle of reflections. Then we are gonna deal with some mirror experiments. Then regular and diffused reflections. Reflected light can be reflected again. Then we are gonna discuss about multiple images. Then about kaleidoscope. Wow, this is something interesting and very important about kaleidoscope. You children might have heard of kaleidoscope. ನಾವು ಚಿಕ್ಕವರಿದ್ದಾಗಂತೂ kaleidoscope ಬಗ್ಗೆ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಳಕ್ಕೆ ತುಂಬಾನೇ ಖುಷಿ ಇತ್ತು. So this is something interesting. Then we are going to study about sunlight, white or colored, where what is it inside our eyes, isn't it? ಅದು ಕೂಡ ನಮಗೆ ನೋಡ್ತೀವಿ. See, this one is important. You can write it as Wi-Fi for 4 marks. Human eye. With diagram, the explanation part will be asked, which is very important. Then care of eyes we are going to study. Then visually impaired persons can read and write, that about we are going to study. Then what is the Barley system, about that also we are going to study in this chapter. Okay, these are the things that we are going to study in the chapter 16, that is light. So before that, let's just have a glance based upon this. ಏನಂತ we'll just see. Angle of incidence. Angle of incidence ಅಂದ್ರೇನು? The angle between the normal and the incident ray is called angle of incidence. Okay, ನಮ್ಮ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಥಿಂಗಲ್ಲಿ ಲೈಟ್ ಚಾಪ್ಟರಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಕಲಿಬೇಕಾಗಿರೋದು ಇದು. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ದ ಆಂಗಲ್ ಬಿಟ್ವೀನ್ ನಾರ್ಮಲ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇನ್ಸಿಡೆಂಟ್ ರೇ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ಆಂಗಲ್ ಆಫ್ ಇನ್ಸಿಡೆನ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ angle of incidence. Then angle of reflection we are going to study. The angle between the normal and the reflected ray is called the angle of reflection. Okay, we are going to deal with angle of reflection. Angle of reflection and the angle between the normal and the reflected ray is called the angle of reflection. So you can see here, this is the mirror image. Okay, this is mirror. So this is incident ray, the angle of incidence and the angle of reflections. ಹಿಂಗೆ ಇನ್ಸಿಡೆಂಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ಅದೇ ಥರ ಇದು ರಿಫ್ಲೆಕ್ಟ್ ಕೂಡ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅಬೌಟ್ ಆ್ಯಂಗಲ್ ಆಫ್ ರಿಫ್ಲೆಕ್ಷನ್. ದೆನ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗೋನ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಅಬೌಟ್ ದ ಬ್ಲೈಂಡ್ ಸ್ಪಾಟ್. ಸೊ ಬ್ಲೈಂಡ್ ಸ್ಪಾಟ್ ಅಂದರೆ ಏನು ಅಂದರೆ, ಅಟ್ ದ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಪ್ಟಿಕ್ ನರ್ವ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ರೆಟಿನಾ ದರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ಸೆನ್ಸರಿ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಸೆನ್ಸರಿ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್ ಇರಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದೆರ್ ಇಸ್ ನೋ ವಿಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್. ಸೊ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ದ ಸ್ಪಾಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್, this is called the blind spot ಅಂತ ನಾವು ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಅಟ್ ದ ಜಂಕ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ಆಪ್ಟಿಕ್ ನರ್ವ್, ನಮ್ಮ ಕಣ್ಣಲ್ಲಿ ಆಪ್ಟಿಕ್ ನರ್ವ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ, ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದ ರೆಟಿನಾ ದೆರ್ ಆರ್ ನೋ ಸೆನ್ಸರಿ ಸೆಲ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ನೋ ವಿಷನ್ ಇಸ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್ ಆನ್ ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಸ್ಪಾಟ್. ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಕಾಲ್ಡ್ ದ ಬ್ಲೈಂಡ್ ಸ್ಪಾಟ್. ದೆನ್ ಬ್ಯಾರ್ಲಿ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ದಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾರ್ಲಿ ಸಿಸ್ಟಮ್ ವಿ ಆರ್ ಗೋನ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ದ ಮೋಸ್ಟ್ ಪಾಪ್ಯುಲರ್ ರಿಸೋರ್ಸ್ ಫಾರ್ ರೀಡಿಂಗ್ ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ರೈಟಿಂಗ್ ಫಾರ್ ವಿಜುವಲಿ ಚಾಲೆಂಜ್ಡ್ ಪರ್ಸನ್ಸ್ ಡೆವಲಪ್ಡ್ ಬೈ ಲೂಯಿಸ್ ಬ್ಯಾರ್ಲಿ, where he is one of the scientists, where ಅವ್ರದ್ರಿಂದನೇ we got this Barley system, where it's most popular resource for reading. Okay, ಕಣ್ಣಿಲ್ಲದ ಕುಡ್ರಿಗೆ ಯು ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ಸಿ ವಿತ್ ಟಚಿಂಗ್, ಅವರಿಗೆ ಒಂದಂತ ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ಇರುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ವಿತ್ ಅಮಂಗ್ ಟಚಿಂಗ್ ಟು ದ್ಯಾಟ್ ಬೋರ್ಡ್ ದೇರ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ, ಈವನ್ ದೇ ಟು ಸ್ಟಡಿ ವಿತ್ ದೇರ್ ಓನ್ ಲ್ಯಾಂಗ್ವೇಜ್. Reading and writing for the visually challenged persons developed by the Louis Barley. Then we are going to study about cones. What do you mean by cones? So cones are the nerve cells on retina which are sensitive to the bright light and sense color. Okay, what happens? Cones are nerve cells on retina iruttala. So there it will be, which are sensitive to bright light and sense color. That is called cones. Then cornea. Okay, then we are going to study about cornea. Cornea is the transparent front part of the eye. Okay, cornea andre which will be present on the front part, which will be transparent and which will be present in the front part of our eye. Then we are going to deal with iris. Iris andre which is all comes under the human eye part. So is colored part of the eye So it controls the size of pupil. When we study in detail in the chapter about human eye, you can just glance over that. So iris andre ಏನಂದ್ರೆ it's the colored part of eye. It controls the size of pupil anta you children have to remember. Then about kaleidoscope, which is very important, that is, there is an interesting device based upon the principle of multiple reflections in inclined mirrors, that we call it as kaleidoscope. Okay, what happens, there is an interesting device based on the principle of multiple reflections in inclined mirrors. It is called kaleidoscope. Kaleidoscope andre ಏನಂತ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಯ್ತಲ್ಲ. So that is, we are dealing with kaleidoscope. Further and further, we are even gonna study lots things about light chapter. So if you guys are ready with these things, we are gonna start up with the chapter that is light. Okay, in further of the keywords, you'll get the full chapter detail. So this is the very basic thing about we have to learn through basic one. Okay, just make this notes, write these keywords in your classwork book, that is in physics classwork. We are dealing with chapter light. Under that, write it as keywords and write these keywords points. Okay, thank you.